Any other comments or questions? There's no more comments or questions. We're gonna move on to old business. And the first ordinance, we've already done 2 readings on this. And we've had testimony from residents, both pro and con. So I'm gonna sort of turn this over to Justin. Then Justin, I'd like you to sort of give the council members the opportunity to comment on ordinance. What is this number gonna be? Ordinance?
So the ordinance 24/2025.
24-2025.
That's the ordinance to reestablish the police department as a local law enforcement agency that's engaged in criminal justice enforcement. And with that, I just a third reading. If there's any questions from council, I'll take them. If I can't answer, I believe Mr. Merkel was best to with clarity.
I think there is a misconception out there that I'd like to clarify. This is not reinstating a full Cleves Police Department with full-time officers, and this is a footprint. But not, I think the misconception is we're trying to bring a full-fledged police department back, and that is not the case. And I just want to make sure that people understand that. Right now, we're looking at possibly 2 part-time, correct?
Correct. And so, and I understand that could be a misnomer. I just did. The amendment, this ordinance is an amendment to our previous ordinance that reestablished the police department. And this really just outlines and highlights our intent that they're engaged in criminal justice enforcement. And what that means is, while they will supplement the efforts of the Board of Health, Fire Department, zoning, code, building enforcement, they're criminal justice officers. And so they're going to enforce criminal laws, whether that is a wanted fugitive that needs to be captured, or discharging a firearm, or assault, or anything in between those. That's a necessary component for us to be engaged in criminal justice enforcement, for us to have access to the databases we need to be in full service. And when I say full service, to be able to perform all duties that you would expect of a law enforcement officer. And that's true to your point that it will be part-time. It won't be a full-time agency. Part-time officers that are more reactive than proactive, they will focus on investigations, specifically investigations that are otherwise not being addressed or haven't been addressed.
But the sheriff's department will still be our primary.
Yes. Well, I don't want to say primary. Okay, so there are primary patrol agencies.
That's
so,
what I meant.
Yeah. Well, I don't want there to be convoluted for anyone. So yes, the sheriff's office will conduct all patrols for the village police. The sheriff's office's primary responsibility will remain providing patrol duties to the village police. That's not to say that our agency is restricted in any means from taking any action that they feel they need to serve our residents.
So if there's a mini-bike zone, and the villager calls 911, where does that call go?
All 911 calls will go to the Hamilton County Communication Center, and the Hamilton County Communication Center has an established protocol to dispatch Hamilton County Sheriff's Office units to respond for in-progress calls and standard reports.
Okay, so would our officer go take care of that mini bike issue, or would it go to the Hamilton County?
We would work in cooperation with Hamilton County Sheriff's Office. So the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office would have full ability to take action on that initially. If that were to fall through the cracks, or they believe that it wasn't a statute that they would enforce, our officers would then complement that and could investigate it ourselves. And if through the course of our investigation we established a probable cause, we would obtain a warrant or execute an arrest just like they could.
So if the Hamilton County how would our sheriff know that the Hamilton County is not gonna take care of it?
That'll be a cooperative agreement, operationally. I've had communication ongoing with the Sheriff's Office Administration. Once we get to an implementation phase here, there will be information sharing through our report management systems, daily briefings. I communicate regularly with Sergeant Schmid now, previously Sergeant Carney, just on happenings. So, in the event something came to us for investigation, we would first reach out to the Sheriff's Office to see where they were at on it. We don't want to step on toes. We don't want to conflict with their investigation, but if it's something they're not going to handle, or they feel is closed or otherwise.
So I guess what I'm asking is how would the homeowner not have to wait 4 hours for a Hamilton County person to come out to?
Yeah, at this point, the footprint of our agency would not have the ability to respond quicker than the Sheriff's Office. The heart of the purpose here is for issues that aren't being addressed currently, that there's another option for a local organic criminal justice agency to pick up where the ball may have been dropped, make sure that due diligence is done. But as far as, you know, the queue for an officer to respond when you call 911, our officers are not going to jump that or supersede them.
Okay, so if there's an issue with a gun going off, then the Hamilton County is still gonna take care of that right away.
So when a firearm's discharged, it's a high priority call. The Sheriff's Office and any other agency, through the comm center, there's priorities assessed to it. And if there's discharge of a firearm, that's a relatively high priority incident, especially if it's in progress, and so officers will respond right away. The issue is that when the Sheriff's Office responds currently, if discharging the firearm didn't occur to as an act of violence or to threaten or menace somebody, it doesn't violate the Ohio Revised Code. So, with their inability to enforce local ordinances, it's legal. However, in the village of Cleves, it's illegal to discharge a firearm in village limits. Again, the Sheriff's Office will enforce local ordinances. In that instance, for example, that you provided, that's an example where the Sheriff's Office would have closed it out and we would have picked it up and investigated. If there's probable cause to cite them or issue a warrant, we would do that. Yes, ma'am.
Just, it's kind of a ludicrous question, but so if Hamilton County were to respond to something, would they tell you outright, I'm sorry, this is something we can't help you with, you need to contact your local police department, or do they contact you? Like, where does the quote unquote victim or the caller, where do they stand? Do they have to call in and check on that? Or what happens next? Something like that.
Right, that's a good question. And so again, we have an established standard operating procedure. This is a first step. You know, if this is legislation is passed tonight, we'll move forward with our criminal justice partners to get access to databases. At that point, we'll have conversations with the Sheriff's Office Administration on how that'll work, how that'll flow cleanly in both ways. We always encourage our residents to reach out if they feel that something hasn't been addressed or it's not being responded to timely. But the goal is that we'll communicate daily and regularly, whether that's through some sort of blotter or data sharing where we can see what they've responded to, or if our officer checks the daily log when they come in to see what happened and then assess, have it been closed out, was there an arrest made, was there no violation? On the other side of that, the goal is to educate the Sheriff's Office and our permanently stationed deputies down here to understand, hey, it's something that I can't enforce, but it is a violation of local ordinance. And once that education occurs with the Sheriff's Office, we're hopeful that they'll then pass it to us as well.
And we did have to sit down with the Sheriff's Office. They're on that same page, so that they do do have a recourse to explain, yes, that might be a, ordinance violation. I will contact, Cleves and pass this on to them. So that was discussed. It's just not in place yet because the, database is stuff needs to be accessed before we can move forward with anything else.
Great, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Will they also be stationed here too? Or will they have their own separate?
They would be stationed here.
So in reality, you guys could like set it up where there would be actual communication, not just a data log, but like verbal communication too.
The goal is there will be face-to-face interactions and live communication that'll happen where we share intelligence going on. Yes,
And they'll have like their own police cards, stuff like that.
they'll be equipped with a vehicle, yes.
Okay, so we'll be able to tell actively like, okay, this is a Cleves cop going down the road versus Hamilton County.
Sure, and again, I just want to clarify that our officers won't be patrolling, but they will be equipped, in a visible uniform that identifies them as an officer, and they'll be in a marked vehicle.
I could add just one thing, so those out in the community understand, there is a limit to what the cost is. This, council has budgeted $60,000 this year, and obviously, as everything does, it'll probably go up at some point. But that's the cost, so that's a very small footprint.
I would like to add that when we started this whole process, the reason it was all started was so that we would have a way to enforce our local ordinances, because Hamilton County does not enforce our local ordinances. And going off of what Linda stated earlier, there is a lot of misconception. We're not bringing back a full force police department. Their focus will be enforcing our local ordinances. So as our administrator explained, if there's a call that Hamilton County responds to, and it's not a Ohio Revised Code issue that they will deal with, they will then forward, if it's a local ordinance issue, they will forward it on to us, and then our officer will take care of it. They will not be out patrolling the streets, issuing speeding citations, that kind of thing. The primary focus is on local code enforcement, which, to what this gentleman stated about Vermont and driving down the street, and things are nice. You drive down the street in Cleves and it looks like crap, and that's because our local ordinances have not been enforced in such a long time. And that's the whole primary focus of it.
So like they would enforce, for instance, I live next to the,
I'm sorry,
so like they would enforce like, they clean up like the empty lot next to my house with a.
those type of zoning,
garage.
yes, those type of things we will be enforcing.
And I just want to clarify there, we would facilitate and cooperate with our zoning and code enforcement officer. Depending on what you're referencing with a vacant property, that could very well be a civil ordinance violation. So, we have this code of ordinances, and we have civil ordinances, and we have criminally codified ordinances. Criminally, if you're cited, you go to mayor's court. Civilly, you would go to our newly established clean court. There's no, imprisonment that could occur theoretically with a civil citation, but in a criminal citation, you could.
What is clean court?
Our clean court is our zoning code enforcement court. So tall grass, blighted property issues, things of that nature, nuisance properties that are on civil, and those would go to our clean court. That is a civil citation assessed to it. Something you couldn't be arrested for.
Cars on blocks in the driveway.
We're on a street with flat tires for weeks.
Problems, one of the key problems that we find is when we see blighted properties, when you see, suspicious and low-key nefarious activity, that's often the tip of the iceberg for underlying issues, which is fugitives from justice, or theft rings, burglary rings, drug abuse, drug trafficking. The list goes on and on. And so it's important that our officers have a full scope of authority to not only assist our code enforcement officer and cite and charge criminal ordinances, but also if through the course of their investigation it goes to something that would be cited municipally or the common pleas, they have that authority and they would take that action as well in cooperation with the sheriff's office.
Any other questions or comments? Council, then, if there are no more questions or comments, do I have a motion to pass ordinance 24-2025, repealing or replacing 16-2024, affirming the intent, clarifying the scope of local police powers?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Babel, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Meister, any further discussion?
I just have one other thing or question. So I know we have like budgeted $60,000 for this, and your comment about how it's gonna go up. Well, I mean, how much are we talking? Because, two part-time officers. I'm just thinking, like, as we're expanding, like, discussions of what these police officers are gonna do, it sounds like a lot more work than what 2 part-time officers is gonna be able to take care of, and, where is that money gonna come?
We won't be able to go over what we,
Yeah, what's appropriated will be the limitations and, to the community that here tonight and anybody watching, there's limitations on what can be done, right? And so we have to prioritize like all of our efforts. And to answer your question, when Ms. Oser and I did our 5-year forecast that we discussed in the Finance Committee, we built in just inflationary increases
Okay, so not like,
$10,000 annually. That's for the cost of fuel and insurance, and other, metrics that are trending that way. So,
But could down the road, you put a bond issue out to increase that?
good.
Okay.
If the
So
council,
if
so,
if the village wants it, they gotta pay for it.
correct. Yes, sir.
Well, I do think it's like maintenance on a car. You take care of the maintenance, and once you get so far along with it, then it starts to get better. And then the action that has to be taken at that point perhaps gets less. When everybody becomes aware of the fact that, hey, we've got this going on down here, and we're gonna enforce these rules, then at that point, they say, hey, wait a minute, I don't want them over here bothering me about, the fact that I left, a lot of garbage around, and done this or done that. They start going, hey, we have rules here, we gotta follow, and then it gets easy.
Any other questions?
If there are no other questions, Penny, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Burns,
Yes.
Ms. Angeline, Ms. Meyer,
yes.
Ms. Meister,
Yes.
Mr. Babel,
Yay.
Ms. Bolton.
yay.
Motion passes 6-0.